So I just got done watching Exist. This is a 2014 found footage creature flick, and this is directed by the guy who did the Blair Witch Project, which these guys obviously have an eye and a talent for found footage horror movies. Like when the Blair Witch Project came out, like everyone bought into the fact that this was real footage, that this was real, authentic footage, and that these people actually went out to the woods and filmed their experience. And now this is the footage that is being recovered from that. And they even went as far as starting a campaign page of missing posters. And so yeah, these guys obviously like have an eye for like not only directing found footage, but also they also have an eye for promoting found footage horror movies. And I think a lot of that does apply over to Exist. While I will say Exist, like it plays on the myth, like, is Bigfoot real? Is he fake? Is he just made up? And so the story to this one is a group of teenagers. They go out to this cabin, and they're basically in the middle of Bigfoot's territory, and nobody knows they're there. So when shit gets real, which shit hits the fan, like in the third act of this movie, which I will talk about, and they have to survive. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about what I liked in this movie. So I think the biggest positive I can say for this movie is the directing. Like this guy did the Blair Witch Project, and now he's making Exist, and it's in the same style of Blair Witch Project. And while I will say this one doesn't feel as it doesn't feel as effective, it still feels realistic in its performances and in its characters and in its footage it is showing to its viewer. I think the directing is still really good here. And another big positive I can give to Exist is Bigfoot. Because even when Bigfoot is not on screen, which for a large majority of this movie, you don't see Bigfoot, it's more through the sound design from the first act. You more just hear his growl, and you hear like footsteps and all that. And you don't really see him until like the middle portion of the movie. And I thought that was a really great movie. And even when you see Bigfoot for the first time, it's not like a clear close up of Bigfoot. And so I think that's something I really like, because like I said, even when you don't see Bigfoot, even when you don't see like Bigfoot, he has a presence in the scene. Like, you always get the feeling that Bigfoot is watching these characters and their every move. And that's something I thought this movie did magnificently. And I think that's what makes Bigfoot such a big surprise and a big threat when he comes into play in the second act of this movie, is because they've built all the suspense up to actually seeing him, and they've built it all through sound design, which that was a very effective approach for this movie. And that was something also that the Blair Witch Project did really well, was its sound design. And so, like, for the first act, I'd say to me is the most effective, because you don't see Bigfoot, and that's just like because like to me, like, not seeing it is more terrifying than seeing it. And like for a large majority of this movie, Bigfoot is more just tormenting these characters. Like you hear him, and and yeah, and I thought that was a really like solid move as far as how they showed as far as how they showed Bigfoot. Um, and another thing is the suspense and tension. Once this movie gets into a game, this movie does not let go. Like, there's a point when Bigfoot is just coming after these characters like non-stop, and that's the most intense part of this movie. Is like when Bigfoot is is really just charging after these characters. And there was a lot of great suspense. There was a lot of great suspense in those sequences and in those scenes. Um, and there's some really good tension. As far as the characters in Exist, they are like they are what you can expect from these characters. They're teenagers, and they do teenage things. Like it's your standard typical teenage character, and like I was fine with that. Like because in the end, like the characters are going to die, and like you do feel some sympathy for some of the characters, but like there's not enough characterization in the first act for you to actually care about them. But I think, well, like I said, where a lot of the fear comes from in Exist is through the sound design and not seeing the unknown. I think that's what's more scarier. And and yeah, but like I thought, besides that, this was a perfect movie. I'd say like this is a movie like I did not expect to be as good as it was, let alone for it to be as effective as it was, and let alone for it to be as scary as it was. So yeah, this movie really surprised the hell out of me. Check it out. I really enjoyed it.